Alright, so I wanted to try to make the Max Payne 3 gameplay mechanics because one of the homies had asked me in the comments of the last video, which if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Since it's a pretty old game, I had to rewatch a video on the gameplay mechanics from the dodge/roll system to the cover system and the shooting system. It was my goal to try to recreate these two things within 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I was actually a lot busier than I expected last week, so I was only able to get the dodge/roll and the cover system, which I honestly think were going to be two of the tougher ones since I've never done anything like this. To start off, I started with the rolling animation and I went to the goats at Mixamo, but unfortunately they only had a forward roll. At this point, since the code was done, I then had to change it up to make it easier to customize and add stuff to it, which honestly I should have done in the first place, but whatever. But anyways, we have the code here. Originally I had just made it into a function, but then I ended up looking into these things called macros, which Unreal Engine has, where pretty much it was going to make it a lot more customizable. I'm not really going to go into detail as to explain the code like how I did in my past couple videos. Just know that if you want to copy this code, you're more than free to, but this is what I did. And then when it comes down to the event graph, all I did was bind it to a button, and if they press it with the W key, it does the forward roll. If you want to be able to add the side rolls, all you have to do is turn this key to the D or A key, and then just play the animation that you want to do. But yeah, that's it for the rolling system. Now on to the cover system. So for the cover system, it was actually super tough and it was a pain in the ass, mainly because there were some things that Unreal Engine just doesn't have anymore when it comes to Unreal Engine 5, or well, from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. So I had to look up some things as to like when to tell if a player's moving left or right. But to start off, I'm gonna show off the animation blueprint, which this was honestly the easiest part. So for the animation blueprint, I just added a new state called the cover. I made a new state machine, and from here I had my different animations, or well, my different states. Again, I got these animations from Mixamo, which they had plenty of them for me. So stand to cover is just the player going from the idle or run position to the cover position. Cover idle is just when the player is leaning on the wall, and the walking is both going to be the left walk and the right walk. To make this work, I can't lie, the code is super messy, and again, I don't want to explain it just because of how much code it is. It was a lot more complex than I expected it to be, but right now, it works. As to whether it's the most efficient, I'm not entirely sure, but it works. So I'm gonna just show off the different sections of it, and I'll be going through stuff when it comes to like the branches and stuff like that. So first, we want to make sure that we're not in cover yet. So if we push E and we are not in cover, we set ourselves to be in cover. So what this does right here, or well, mainly this whole section right here, is it just looks for a wall that has the tag of cover on it, or I guess collision type of cover, kind of like what I did with the swing points. I then made sure that if we do hit something, we send a message over to our interface that we would pretty much be able to use for our animation blueprint as well. After that, we just snap our player's capsule component, or the hitbox in this case, onto the wall, and then we set a play animation montage to whatever length our animation is, and then set the actor's rotation and set is covered to true. Now that's just for the idle state, which is a lot of code, and to move left and right is pretty much the same thing. So as you can see here, this is pretty much the move left to right, up here that is. So what we're doing here is just calculating the direction that our player is moving. So this one would be the move left because we want it to be less than 0, and this one is the move right because it's greater than 0. And then all we do is just send a message over to our interface for the move left and the move right. And then I copied that same code so that way if whenever we're moving left, we're pretty much throwing a sphere next to the players to check to see if we're actually still next to a wall, or in front of a wall, I guess. And if we are still in front of a wall, we just make sure that the animation stays in place and the actor's rotation stays in place with the animation. This was because anytime I was moving, the player's rotation would go with whatever way I was moving, and I didn't want to do that, so I just made it so that it stayed in place with the cover idle animation. And it's pretty much the same vice versa for the move right. Now I did want to make it so that I could move from cover to cover, but I ran out of time to do anything else, so I'm planning on making a part 2 where I expand on the cover system, maybe even make that slow-mo shooting system that it had, because, well, it's pretty sick, not gonna lie. And now to show off how it looks like in the game. But yeah, this is how I made some of the gameplay mechanics from Max Payne 3. Hope you all enjoyed it. If there are any other mechanics that you'd like to see me try and recreate, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.